Freedom cannot be given. It is our right at birth. But there are moments in time when it must be taken.
They were first detained by officers of a survey brig off the coast of Long Island. I can only assume that the charge is murder.
We do hereby claim salvage on the high seas of the Spanish ship La Amistad and all her cargo.
You and this young so-called lawyer have proven you know what they are. They're Africans. Congratulations. What you don't know is who they are.
This could take us all one long step closer to civil war. Over this.
Our president has appealed the decision to our Supreme Court. If I said it, I shouldn't have.
That's what you said.
If I said it, I shouldn't
I can't
have.
translate that.
What I meant to say is, what I meant to say...
Not in the way you mean it.
Good, let's shoot.
Amistad, a true story directed by Steven Spielberg in his first film for DreamWorks SKG.
Did it right there till we see the word Amistad. Good.
Comes to the screen with an all-star cast. Matthew McConaughey, Morgan Freeman, Academy Award winner Sir Anthony Hopkins, and introducing Djimon Hounsou as Joseph Sinkay, the leader of a group of free Africans illegally taken as slaves who revolted aboard the Spanish slave ship La Amistad in 1839.
I do hereby call upon this court to immediately surrender these goods!
The Amistad Africans' eventual capture in American waters, 2-year imprisonment and trials, led to a showdown in the Supreme Court.
And action.
Between incumbent President Martin Van Buren and ex-President John Quincy Adams.
I have a modest suggestion.
In what became known as the Trial of the Presidents. In the balance rested the future of the American system of justice, the institution of slavery, and the basic right of all mankind, freedom.
I've heard about the Amistad before, and I know the story. I've heard the story from several people, but only Debbie was able to convince me that I was the right person for the job.
¿De dónde eres, India?
Amistad began its journey to the screen 13 years ago, when producer Debbie Allen read 2 volumes of essays, Amistad 1 and 2.
Is this where you were born?
When I read it, I felt this was a story that the world needed to know, because this was a story certainly that was about my ancestors, but it is about all American ancestors.
You want to be defiant here, and when he brings his sword up, if anything, you want to step into him. That's how brave you are. And the men look at him, that's very brave. He's taking his sword up. Maybe you guys step back when you see the sword. He doesn't budge.
When I saw Schindler's List, I thought that there was a man that would understand the story, that would help me get this done, and he did.
And action. Our land is this side of the line, your land is that side of the line. I just love history, and I finally had a time at this point in my career to be able to tell a couple stories that are historically solid. Action! And about events that actually happened that people need to know about.
I call upon our distinguished colleagues from Massachusetts.
If you tell a historical story in the movies, you have an obligation to tell it as right as possible. A story like this is based on fact. And it is a story that is so important to the American fabric. And so many people never heard of it.
My client's journey did not begin in Havana, as they claim and keep claiming more and more emphatically. No, my client's journey began much, much further away.
Very quiet.
I really was not prepared to make the movie without a Sengbei that I thought was going to be overwhelmingly believable. And very fortunate that in the middle of the casting process, we came across Djimon. And I think without that piece of casting, I wouldn't, at least this year, have gone forward with the production. Give him a smile after that to sort of reassure him the chiefs never die. Good, 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 lovely. That shows a lot of respect. And sit back. Great, here we go.
I do everyone. Oh, help!
Cinque is the only African that refused to be taken as a slave. He goes through any length to free himself so he can go back to his wife and to his children. Freedom is driving him. Being free. Being human.
Djimon Hounsou was born in Benin, West Africa. At the age of 14, his parents sent him to live in France, where they believed he could get a better education. 1 year away from earning his college degree, Djimon dropped out of school and found himself living on the streets of Paris.
Didn't know really what I wanted to do. You know, I was homeless for a while, and then slowly somebody saw me on the street and said, "Oh, you look quite interesting. I have a friend who is a photographer, and I think he would love to take pictures of you."
Start breathing. Start breathing there.
By the time Djimon auditioned for Amistad, he had been acting and modeling for 7 years.
But I first saw him on videotape, and I brought him in that afternoon. That's how overwhelming his videotape test was. He was just my mind's eye of Sengbei. He was this man. He was courageous. He was sympathetic. He was angry. He had dignity. And he was vulnerable. I mean, so many things combined.
I would think maybe this is the most amazing thing that have happened to me since my birth.
Could you make a case for the fact that he's actually in here looking for a likely...
He is.
So he could go to each
Absolutely.
bed.
He could go to all of them. I just don't want to take you right now to that one over there, Morgan, because you'll be totally blocked and out of time.
His name is Jodson. He's a very active abolitionist. Apparently an ex-slave. When this story breaks, of course, they get jumped right in the middle of it, and they start organizing the defense for these Africans. So they're involved from the first moment.
Munbana. Kere nye Munbana.
Sorry, I don't understand it.
Morgan Freeman becomes the embodiment of the African American who is educated at this time, was a slave, and is struggling to abolish slavery.
Well, good, Morgan, right about there.
Trying to go through that middle road, through the churches, through the laws, through the legal system, not quite militant yet.
There remains but one task undone. One vital task the Founding Fathers left to their sons before their 13 colonies could precisely be called United States. And that task, sir, as you well know, is crushing slavery.
He was the first actor I ever went to. First person I ever showed the script to was Morgan. And I actually asked him to play Covey, the interpreter. And Morgan read the script and said, "I prefer Jodson. I want to play the abolitionist." And he was absolutely right. And I immediately said, "Okay, it's yours."
You're done for the day.
I'm willing to stay, of course, you know.
Oh, you're
you know why,
You're a
but...
great guy. No, we're fine. We're in good shape.
Thank you so
Good
much.
day. Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Boamia.
I need to know where you're from. Yeah. Is this where you're from? Africa? Yes?
I like you talking loud. That's great. Yeah.
Baldwin's one of these characters that is like this very ordinary man in the extraordinary situation. Cinque, I need you to tell me how you got here. This lawyer was a real estate attorney and knows his case.
Over all these hats, they're trying to get a good view. All these hats are blocking them.
He looks at the Africans as property and is not sensitive to the cause whatsoever. He's very much about the case, and I know how to win this case, and that's it.
Let's say they aren't slaves. Well, if they aren't slaves, then they were illegally acquired, weren't they? Forget mutiny, forget piracy, forget murder, and all the rest. Those are subsequent, irrelevant occurrences. Ignore everything but the preeminent issue at hand. The wrongful transfer of stolen goods. Either way, we win.
Throughout the story, he becomes much more humane, I suppose, and much more sensitive to the cause. and understands what he's doing. If anyone's a wild card in the story, this character's the wild card. You know, his nickname in the story is the Dung Scraper. He's a bit disheveled. Things are falling off. He misses buttons and things like that. His glasses are always a little cockeyed. And he's been dealing with little land grant cases from 150 years prior to this time. He's dealing with who owns this chicken, whose property line should be moved over 6 inches. He hangs out with so-called sort of the heathens, and he hangs out down at the wharf, and he's a bit bent, I suppose.
Here we cut, one more time.
Matthew has the toughest part in the whole film. He's the conduit of a lot of information. You know, that's a tough part to acquit yourself in, and he did a great job, just a great job.
Our president, our big man, has appealed the decision to our Supreme Court.
Boy, G, what does that mean?
We have to try the case again.
Experiment a bit without losing the train of each speech. Between some speeches, if you can go into the old man dementia for a second.
Oh, yes,
you know
you're losing it.
You're just sort of losing it, you know, and going the wrong way, and coming back and suddenly realizing where you are again.
Good.
Sort of
And John Quincy Adams is the president of the United States, a one-term president. He was an astute Puritan, love of God and country, and incorruptible. Totally incorruptible. Which didn't make him very popular.
I realized after much trial and error that in a courtroom, whoever tells the best story wins. In unlawyer-like fashion, I give you that scrap of wisdom free of charge.
In a nutshell, he's a crusty, cantankerous, elderly man.
That's great. That's great. That's terrific.
Was neither a friend of abolition or a friend of slavery.
Action?
Didn't want anything to do with it. But gradually he was compelled to go and fight for these people's lives. And he did. He was a very, very moral man.
I must say I have derived much consolation from the fact that my colleague, Mr. Baldwin, here, has argued the case in so able and so complete a manner as to leave me scarcely anything to say. However,
he's a master. He was John Quincy Adams. He has the ability to totally become this other person.
So I don't have to refer to tapes or recordings of his voice. There is a photograph of him, a daguerreotype, early photograph, about 1847. And we look a little alike, actually. I think I'm a bit bigger, physically.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it's better.
Grizzy?
She just aged them out a bit.
That's right, yeah.
Put something on the bottom and the top.
That's right.
Great.
Not too much makeup.
Oh, and the eyes are fantastic.
Good.
We didn't tell the John Quincy Adams story, but John Quincy Adams tells the Amistad story.
and the proof is the length to which a man, woman, or child will go to regain it once taken. He will break loose his chains. He will decimate his enemies. He will try and try and try against all odds, against all prejudices, to get home.
You could try an older walk.
Yeah.
I think it's not like that, so
No.
you can still hunch over as long as the shoulders aren't up.
But yes, just slower on the legs.
Yeah, I think so, slower on the legs. A little trick knee.
And that weakness in the back muscle of the arms, that comes, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it's already coming to me, so I can tell you it does come that way. Yeah.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum shalom.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning. Good morning.
Monsieur.
Messieurs. Good morning, Willie. Good morning. Thank you for being in chains all day yesterday. Ever struggling, thank you.
There's never been a movie where you've had so many Africans from the continent come together under one umbrella in America and be part of a movie and a story that's talking about them, they themselves.
We're painting a very, very frightening picture of the way things really were. And so to whatever degree you bring your own experiences of your ancestors, experiences of your family into the story is very good for everybody's character.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So we want as much of who you are in the movie as what we've written for you.
Nice.
And that's really important.
Well, I knew one of the most difficult parts of the movie was going to be to recreate with a group of people, the Amistad Africans, to get people who would speak this specific language, to indoctrinate, if you will, a group of African people who might be from different places into the world of West Africa, Sierra Leone, the Mende, Temne, the few tribes that we were dealing with.
These weren't actors, these weren't even extras, these were people in other walks of life that were asked to participate in this piece of American history and African history. They didn't know anything about the movie camera or the process, the slate that comes in, and I wanted them to be very comfortable. I need to know what they're saying in English. Can you sit next to me? Yes. And help me with this, Elizabeth?
Dr. Arthur Abraham, one of the world's leading scholars in African culture, advised the filmmakers on all aspects of the Mende tribe.
Bengali Hima. Yes, Bengali Hima.
Professor Abraham was brilliant at tutoring all of the actors.
He could call the elders who were there and say,
He really bonded and held the truth of the language together, somewhat single-handedly.
But he must call him a dung scraper. There is such a word?
Well, yes, that is it, yes. Yes. Nikabui. And Nikabui, that is
what's
it.
Called?
Nikabui.
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 Kiki bonga flagmina bauma. Na nikabui le mamaja.
Kenga. Puma chamwimia. Muma pegwa sana.
Along with the challenge of language was the challenge of movement. Prior to filming, Debbie Allen worked with the Amistad Africans in a small Hollywood studio.
I wanted to get them up to speed, knowing that when Stephen got his hands on it, he was going to shape this the way he saw it, and these were building blocks for him, basically.
You marched into this jail. You have guns on you.
I spent time working with them, teaching them. I did it with them. I took straps and guns and I challenged them to get them in the mindset of what they were dealing with. This is a very painful part of our history that very few of us have really had the opportunity to live through or to really put ourselves there.
If anybody's going to tell me today, have I ever been to jail or have I ever been imprisoned, I would say yes, because this has been a real experience for me. After the first 5 minutes, you forget that you're in a movie. You're walking in the water, you're wearing the rags.
It's sometimes very difficult, very stressful mentally just to go through the ordeal. It creates a more vivid picture of what actually my ancestors went through.
That was the first day of shooting. I felt so humiliated and so disrespected and ashamed of being treated like that.
They were uncomfortable. They also had their feelings hurt, which I thought was one of the most remarkable things I learned that first day. That's the part they took the most seriously. So the chains weren't fake movie chains, they were the real thing. They hung heavy on the neck and they created chafing, and you could understand how chains being worn for several months would actually break through the skin and create scarring for life. And I think more than anything else, that was the time machine that they experienced that placed them at a time in 1997 that was no different than 1839.
Okay. Be winner. No, you're starting here. Yes, you're starting here now.
Yeah.
And you're coming down to your secretary. This was something I was in Providence.
Yeah.
But this is a better location. So we're going to do that first. Have you seen the House of Representatives?
No.
Come here, because you're going to love this. Isn't that great?
In recreating the world of 1839, Steven Spielberg assembled an award-winning creative team,
I guess this is Boston.
including Academy Award-winning director of photography Janusz Kaminski, Oscar-nominated costume designer Ruth Carter, 5-time Academy Award-winning composer John Williams, and Oscar-nominated production designer Rick Carter.
When designing a period movie, it's not so much just about getting all the details right, which of course is very important to try to make everything as authentic as possible. But I think in a case like this, it's also about trying to create an overall impression of what it really would be like to be transported back into that time.
See, what's nice about this angle, when you go up high, you see they go from the sea to America. There's landfall really right there where you see the whole village. That's why that's pretty important.
We pray to our Father for all thou hast given.
We got 300 people to turn into wharf rats, merchants, prostitutes, sailors, pirates, everything.
So we've got it set up so you guys are all in a group together. Stay on the sidewalk for this particular one, okay? Because I see more of the sidewalk than this.
I mean, look at these beautiful sailors out here. Look at these people. I mean, this is incredible. The horses, everything.
So real. It makes you feel like you're right in the time, in the period.
Part of the lure, spell say that for me, I can't say it. Lure of acting is wearing costumes. So when I'm in a costume drama, I feel like I'm a total actor.
Let me show you this. We'll get a rehearsal. Well, we've chosen all these historic locations out of context, out of period, and out of state. Washington in the early 19th century is completely different than it is today. So that immediately eliminated Washington, D.C. as an actual historic period location. We had to go around the Northeast and New England to find what would most resemble Washington, D.C. in 1839.
In the theatre, you've got to make-believe. You know, in the living theatre, you have to make-believe all the time, which is one thing. But on the film, you get to work in the real locations. You get to, you don't have to pretend, here we are. You let this do the acting for you.
In the back, we have shadows on that wall.
Yes,
back
we have
there.
some shadows here.
You gotta get some more on that wall for this shot.
When I first began to think about doing this, the first thing I thought about was Goya, the Spanish artist, which might seem a little bit sacrilegious since some of what the Africans went through was at the hands of the Spanish and the Portuguese. But I thought Goya had a look where things were darker and more brooding. So Janusz Kaminski and I, the cinematographer, studied Goya a lot, and that was a tremendous inspiration.
The basic sensibility was that this is not a movie about artificial staginess. It's about reality, and there's always something right outside the window that relates to what's going on with these people.
And background, please. Everything you do that alters your personal appearance is another layer added to character.
Which is why I tend to go for hats. Gets me in the character. But I have a different hat on today, and first time I've worn this for a long time. And now I'm in the character. You notice with this hat, I'm not really yelling and screaming and making everybody go faster. This will be the last day I wear this hat of this movie. Okay, Getty and Mead are fine. Saunders is fine. Tappan is fine.
We didn't see Morgan at all.
No, I'd like to move Morgan, please.
Steven Spielberg. What a director. I mean, I'm spoiled and I don't want to work anywhere else.
Let me go on the other side of you. And just put this change together once. Just this group.
He's in it up to his very eyebrows. As good as he is, as much as he knows, as sure as he is of what he's doing, what he wants, he's wide open to suggestion.
Gives you so many little gems. I mean, he sees everything. There's a 10-minute zone that he goes into right when he shows up to set, and he's sitting there looking around. He goes, what are we shooting? He goes, I'm not sure what this shot's going to be. And he's looking around. He starts looking down there on the ground. He starts thinking. He's walking around. And he's lining things up and looking through his viewfinder. And all of a sudden, he takes off.
I figured it out. It's nice depth in this direction. It's good depth this way. Are we ready to shoot this?
No, but we were almost ready.
Almost ready.
What about that? Okay, that would be good. If I didn't see your hands come in, that'd be great. That's great. I love it.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I'll throw it, you walk in.
Yeah, just lean in a bit more so I can see your face better. Just lean your body in more to the table.
Have you seen this before?
That's great. That's really good. Okay, that's it. That's a shot. Diamond.
Good work. That was good work. Is it okay if I talk you through some of this? Because I get these moments that I can use that are very good.
It's good. I'm
Good.
just worried about you.
I'm happy. I know what I'm using in the editing room, so.
A little bit of a rehearsal, please, again. Here we go. Quiet, please.
I will call into the past and beg my ancestors to come and help me, for at this moment I am the whole reason they have existed at all.
This is a story that's been around for a long time.
It's about mankind.
The film is about the power of the human spirit and courage and freedom.
Story is important to tell because without no history, there is no life.
What I said to you before the judgment is almost how it works here. Almost.
This is when we're in our finest hour. This is when we really are doing the best kind of work.
This is the most important case ever come before this court. Because what it in fact concerns is the very nature of man.
We get places, everybody. First team. Yes, sir. Little entrance from here. This scene runs about 2 minutes. I don't need your picture.
Yeah.
And then Sergio will cue you when he thinks the timing is right to get it up to the
Okay,
stage.
good.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
The only thing that's extraordinary is the white hair and the dark eyebrows.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it really is.
She's arched, mother.
That's a good touch. Exactly.